What does a day in the life look like for you?
Hmm. Honestly, I remember when I asked you that on my podcast, you were like, "It's a different every day." Mine's basically the same every day. Such a boring schedule. So I usually wake up around like 6 or 6:30. I try to kind of get up with the sun if I can.
Mhm.
So like lately, I guess the sun doesn't come up till like 7 or so. So I've been sleeping a little bit longer. Um, so like somewhere between 6 and 7 typically, and then I will immediately go on a run with the dogs. Like I'll do the first, usually like 3 or 4 miles with them, and then I'll bring them back home, drop them off, finish my miles. That kind of just depends on what I'm training for in terms of the volume. Typically, like this last year, I think I averaged like 6.5 miles a day or something like that for the yearly total. So usually around 5 or 6 miles, and then come back home, shower, work for a few hours. I intermittent fast until about noon every day. Uh,
Oh, so you run and then you won't have anything
yeah,
after.
unless it's a speed day. If it's a speed day, which is once a week, then I'll eat something before, or usually just like some liquid calories. But yeah, I usually don't consume any calories until like noon generally. And I actually learned, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I did my VO2 max test last weekend, and all the way up to my VO2 max, the peak, like till I had to tap out, I was still using fat, which they said is like not common at all because you at some point you typically switch over to pure carb burn. But even then, my body was still using like 10% fat at my absolute max, and I think it has something to do with running so many miles fasted
Mm.
and doing so much training in a fasted state. I don't. That's my bro science. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think there's something to that. So I don't usually eat till noon. Uh, do I know my meal?
I do wanna know your meal.
Okay.
Actually, before you share your meal though, have do you feel like you're able to recover from, like, running 5 or 6 easy miles at 7 in the morning and then not eating anything for, like, 3, 4 hours after?
It used to be really hard.
Mm.
Now I don't even really think about it. It used to be challenging to go work out on an empty stomach. But I think just over time you
Mhm.
just get used to it, and your body. Because I used to probably be mostly carb burning, like
Yeah.
most people are, because they don't fast or they eat a really high carb diet. But I think if you're intentional with that and you eat a lot of fats, like I think that most of my calories, I don't track it all, but I think most of them come from fats because I eat so much like fatty steak and beef, a lot of raw milk, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fats. I think that probably helps. And just getting your body used to like just being fat adapted,
Sure.
basically. But yeah, so breakfast at noon is usually like 8 ounces of ground beef, 4 eggs, like a big bowl of fruit, like berries, a glass of milk, um, some like sourdough toast. Bree's been making sourdough. Dude, it's so good. Homemade sourdough
Sourdough is
slaps.
so good.
So that's usually breakfast. It's like a pretty big meal typically. And then I'll work a couple more hours in the afternoon, do some calls and stuff. And then at like 3, I'll have a smoothie, like a protein and fruit smoothie. And then I'll lift usually around like 4 o'clock. I just have the home gym, which is nice, super convenient. I always plunge before I lift.
Mm.
That's crucial. Plunge before you lift.
Plunge before you lift.
And then after that, eat dinner like 6 or 7. Hang out with Bree. That's pretty much the same thing every day. Very boring.
Yeah, but uh, there's something to be said about that because
Yeah.
just being friends with you and seeing all that you've been able to build over the past couple of years, you've had that consistency and you've had that schedule. And so you're not being distracted by other things that are pulling you away from the things that you've been able to build. So people might say, oh, like, how has Jeremy done this? How has Jeremy done that? You just said it. It's consistency. It's the
Yeah.
same thing every day.